The Quarantine Sessions podcast with J. Cole.
Hi,
Hi, how you doing?
good. What's up, Miss Wrenna Monet, LLC?
It's good to see you, Jake. Here, let me turn my volume up a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to
There
see
we
you too.
go.
Thanks for tuning into this live thingamajigger.
Yeah, it's an honor. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely. So, where in the world are you right now?
I am on the Oregon coast in a little town called South Beach, just below Newport.
Nice. I like
Yeah,
Oregon. Oregon's
yeah.
chill.
Beautiful sunny day. I have an ocean view, so it feels really, it's a blessing right now with everything that's going on and the isolation and stuff.
Yeah, how have you been experiencing that?
I've been trying to kind of utilize it, like doing I honestly spent a lot of time alone anyways. Isolation
Yeah,
is something that I have found being a painter to really help me. We have to enjoy being alone to get the
yeah.
work done. So
It,
I'm handling
it's
it well, I think.
it's a real blessing. The people that I've known and have been close to that don't have an artistic practice often find it challenging to just kind of go inward and stay put and be self-entertained. And I think that when you're a creative person, you have this thing that wells up inside of you and pours out from you. It's much easier to kind of stabilize your consciousness if you're in a situation where you have to be alone for a long period of time.
Hmm.
So we're super lucky to have that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And where are you? You're in Bali?
I'm in Bali. Yeah. I think that
Lucky.
these conversations that I'm doing, it's partly my curiosity to try to tap in with the rest of the world and see what it's like out there, because the situation here is, kind of different. Like I was at a gathering last night with many people, and I'm still getting to be social and to interact with people, and we have a lot of freedoms that other parts of the world don't have.
Oh, really?
So
Wow.
yeah, it's like Bali culturally is very relaxed. They're not a very strict or authoritarian culture. So it's not like China where, everything is being really shut down and enforced with police and stuff like that. Basically, the extent that this is affecting things is there's no large scale gatherings, so no parties, no festivals, which there were a lot of before this happened. And then also there's stop points. So in certain stop points, they stop you and they spray you with hand sanitizer. And that's about it, and tell you to wear a mask. So that's
Wow.
what I'm doing. But yeah, I guess yeah, I'm really interested in what's going on in the rest of the world though, and through these conversations, it's helping me feel into it more and makes me feel a bit more plugged into the collective also.
I bet. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Hmm. And how many people have you interviewed?
So far I've done about 20 of these. It's
Awesome.
been it's been or maybe more. I've done like 3 or 4 per week for the last maybe 5 weeks. I think I've done about 20 so far, and it's been great. Next week is exciting. I have a lot of like real people I'm really inspired to talk to. Morgan Sorn, who's an amazing musician that I've been a big fan of for a long time, and I've met like a couple times, but we've never really talked in depth. So we're going to be talking, and Android Jones is going to come on next Saturday. So I'm pretty excited about that too, because I always feel like I get a lot of transmission from speaking to him, and somewhat intimidating. I always feel a bit eclipsed by his intellect, but still
Right?
always inspiring to chat with him, and I always learn a lot. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on this as well and being a part of this. Um, why don't you introduce yourself a bit? Tell my audience who you are and about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name's Wrenna Monet. I am from a small fishing village in Southeast Alaska. Um, I found visionary painting about, I want to say, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I've always been kind of an artist, but I started really taking it seriously because I'm from a fishing village, and I used to be a commercial squid fisherman. Was hunting for calamari. Yeah,
Really?
it's kind of a crazy story. I'm writing a book. It's
Yeah.
been turned into a screenplay already, and we're finishing up the polishing touches to have it made into a movie to help other people with traumatic brain injuries find light through their darkness. So it's a healing piece about trauma and trials and tribulations. And so I was on the squid boat. I was hit in the head in a very, very bad storm. We caught 5,000 herring on accident. So the whole boat was covered in blood and everywhere. It was a freak accident, pretty much, but it does happen quite often on those type of seine boats. I ended up losing my long-term and short-term memory. I have hypothesia, or I forget how to say it. It's uh, I have phototopia and like hypothesia, which is hypersensitivity to sight, sound, taste, and touch now. And for 4 years of my healing process, I was in a very dark place, trying to figure out how to live in a body that didn't feel like was mine. I basically woke up in a grown woman's body who used to be a commercial or a professional actress and a model since I was 18. I got into fishing when I got sick of it because I was Miss Alaska, Hawaiian Tropic 2003, and Miss Alaska International Petite Teen 2004, which is why I went to Hollywood, got really sick of the fakeness and the city vibe, and went back home and found fishing and art, and was trying to get into art school. And I heard I could make about 40K a month to pay for art school in San Francisco, squid fishing. So I was
Wow.
like, cool, I've done salmon fishing before. I've done a lot of fishing in my life, commercial fishing. My brother's a professional crabber, like on the Deadliest Catch, and my mom is a fisherman. Yeah, it's really like kind of an extremist family. My dad's a crazy professional alpine mountain climber. Um, uh, he's of course, not doing it anymore, but so I went fishing to try and make that 40K to pay for art school in San Fran because it's quite expensive.
Yeah.
And everything didn't go right. 4 years later, I found Amanda Sage on Facebook while I was going through every photo trying to relearn who I was because I didn't connect with old Wrenna at all, even pictures. And pictures are pretty much what have helped me the most recover some of what memories I do have still. They're there, but they sometimes I need like reminded or to go backwards and go searching, and when I smell something or see someone, or it's like, oh, it's pretty remarkable. And yeah, I found Amanda. I took her class in LA in 2016, and I didn't know that I could paint like that. And it really inspired me to continue doing the work. And then I found Amanda teaching a workshop in Italy with with Adam Scott Miller and Daniel Morante. And so
Cool.
I flew there
At
under
Tori?
the care of, yeah, Tori. You've been
Nice.
there,
I
right?
was there. Yeah, I did the workshop there, I think in 2016. But it was with Amanda Lawrence and Adam, what's his name? Andrew Gonzalez. It was great.
I think that was the year before me. That's or
Oh,
something. Yeah, that's
yeah. It
awesome.
was fun.
really magical place.
Really magical. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that grotto is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was easy to find excuses to not be painting and just go hang out like by the river and go
Yeah,
take hikes in nature and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. Very healing place. Very, very powerful place too. I felt like everybody really bonded very well and and did a lot of self work because painting a self portrait is not easy sometimes. We don't really stare at ourselves that long. We're not used to staring at ourselves that long, and definitely that was one of my problems with my memory is I would go into the bathroom and not recognize myself and be like, oh fuck, that's like this is me, and so staring, doing that work kind of helped me like connect with my, I guess, my higher purpose. Just what I found painting I could do, so I might as well continue doing it.
You
And
know that
yeah,
do you know that in shamanic cultures they have this there's like a prevalence of people that say that they can go into animals' bodies and stuff like that and like incarnate as animals and move around and things like that. Have you considered ever that like maybe who you are as like a soul or a spirit is actually a different person than who was born into that body, that maybe you actually did wake up into this body and it wasn't yours originally?
actually, that's called a walk-in, and there are two sides, negative and positive to that. I did another podcast interview with the darn it, it's the Love Light podcast or Love and Light,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely feel I got upgraded, and it might sound crazy, but something else is in me that I have been tapping into and doing a lot of shamanic work myself with ayahuasca and plant medicine. And I'll be doing a ceremony next weekend, Combo and Aya again, with the
Yeah.
local tribe. It's legal here under certain laws. Of course, we sign papers and everything. And um, but yeah, it's called kind of like an initiation of.
Well, exactly. I think that your story is it's really similar to kind of classical shamanic initiations where in shamanism people usually undergo some kind of ordeal that completely dissolves their identity and then they're reborn. It's a rebirth into their shamanic self. And actually, the myth of the superhero that comes out of that. So like superheroes, how they get stung by a venomous spider or they dissolve in some kind of nuclear power plant or something like that, and then they're reborn with superpowers. That's the classic shamanic journey. And it's
Mm,
something that we have a kind of, I guess, genetic memory of because it's something that people have been doing forever. And that's where those stories come from. And your story is kind of like that superhero story, you know?
hey, thanks. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Yep,
But yeah, it's
definitely.
fascinating. I'm really interested in hearing about this just because I've heard your story, but like secondhand through other people. So it's nice to be able to actually hear it from you. Um, so you already had the intention to start painting before your accident.
Yeah, my grandfather was a painter. And actually, I have this photo. It's funny, but he would teach
Oh,
me how to paint when I was a little girl,
oh, that's cute.
and I don't remember any of it, of course. So this picture is priceless to me. And my mom is a painter. She was taking care of me when I got out of the traumatic brain injury facility where I was living as an inpatient. She took care of me, and I was very angry that I couldn't work my body. I would walk into walls. My eyes overlapped because all the nerves in my right side of my head were ripped apart. I had left spatial neglect, which I couldn't work my left hand. When you're hit on the right, it affects the left side of your body. You're hit on the right, it'll affect the left side,
Okay.
or whatever. And it throws things off, right? Like, so if you're hit too wrong, you're going to walk like vertigo into something's. Um, and so I had to do a lot of different cognitive rehabilitation things and speech therapy, physical therapy, um, linguistic therapy because I forgot math, how to cook, how to make love, how to drive a car. I still don't know how to cook, and I'm learning that again.
Neither do
I paint a lot better than I cook.
I. Me too.
Yeah.
That's some people's art form. Just like let them have that. It's okay. You can focus on painting.
Yeah. Yep, that's why I'm like, you cook, I will eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but I feel like everybody has a story, you know, that a way that we've found art or found ourselves,
Well,
you know.
in visionary art, especially, as this kind of strange subculture and underground community, there's especially rich stories. You know, when I went to, because I went to art school in San Francisco, actually, I went to the Academy of Art and met a lot of students there, and I've studied in different workshops and things like that. I met a lot of people who are more kind of like, more inclined towards art in a more practical way. It has less of a kind of spiritual purpose behind it. And those people generally have much less exotic stories about why they're choosing to be an artist. They're like, oh, I like to draw. I don't know. Like, you know, but yeah, visionary artists tend to have, I mean, I found that the characters in the visionary art scene are very exaggerated in general and often do have these kinds of like crazy superhero stories about how they ended up being a visionary artist through some kind of really wild synchronistic tale of unfolding. And yeah, there's something to that. I would like to believe that, you know, there is magic in the world and that certain people are more tuned into that and able to kind of recognize that and tap into it. And I think that that's kind of what visionary art represents, is people that are tapped into that kind of supernatural or spiritual or magical side of reality and are doing their best to transmit that and to communicate that to others and help them tap into it too.
I like the quote, um, uh, gosh darn it, it's just do it, right? You know, show people the magic instead of talking about it. You know,
Right.
some people you can say this is true all you want, but until you show somebody or somebody sees something, they're not going to believe what magic's real. You kind of got to go looking for it and be ready for it and want it, and it really is true. And I definitely I've found that in psychedelics, especially with Aya, you know, and just doing that love self work where, you know, surrendering basically. And the shot, one of the shaman things is the surrender and then the acceptance, and then you start to grow and get the downloads and open up. And it's been a really weird journey.
Yeah. Yeah, mine too. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Your experience of the traumatic brain injury, it has some similarities to a high dose psychedelic experience because it is an ego death in a real way. Like in a real way, like you literally can't remember your history or your identity, which is something I've experienced only through high doses of psychedelics. And it is typically over and back to baseline within maybe 24 hours with just the memory of that experience. But for you, it's a bit more prolonged. But that way that psychedelics affect the default mode network of our brains that organize our reality into something familiar, how that is shattered in those experiences. And that allows a much greater freedom and plasticity to be able to build something new and to develop a new framework for reality that we can move through. It seems like you got that experience more strongly, and through different means, but it's something similar.
Totally. And it definitely makes us see, I think, the fifth dimension, or, you know, all of the different options of what reality could really be, so to speak.
So when you after your brain injury, when you couldn't remember your past history and you were there as this totally open, clean slate, you were basically reborn and were able to choose any path or to pursue anything. What drew you back towards visionary art as what you wanted to focus your life energy on?
Um, to be honest, I was really lost and very, very depressed. I felt very empty. I felt like who would love me like this? You know, when I can't function, I can't hold a conversation. I went from a 15-minute memory span to a half hour to an hour to 2 hours, and then it started getting better. And my book is about that. They drugged me in the hospital to try and take the insurance money. I had to go through a major lawsuit
Mm.
for years to prove to them that I was really fucked up because they tried to say that I was acting, that I was an actress because I went to school for that in Hollywood, and
Oh,
so that was their fight against it, and um, yeah, yeah. Uh, I forgot what you just asked. I was kind
well,
of going.
how were you led to pursuing visionary art after your injury,
Oh, I
or
think
why did you choose that?
depression and thinking that I just needed something to do, like to get away from myself because I couldn't leave the house. I lost my independence at
Mhm.
24. And I think that art really helped me find beauty in myself that I didn't know was there anymore.
Mm.
And Amanda really helped me find that. She showed me how to paint with the rainbow and, allow rainbows to come back into me. And, she really did fill me up with a lot of light, and as well as all the artists that I've studied with. Autumn Sky Morrison is an amazing teacher as well. And she's taught me so much too in just a week class with her.
Mhm.
I find that the more that I do this, the more it makes sense. And I think that so many people could heal from art. Even just taking a class, if you want to do it, just try. We're the
Yeah.
only person in our way,
Mhm.
and visionary art. I saw Alex Gray's stuff. I want to say like 15 years ago when I went to New York for Fashion Week or something for a modeling thing, and I went into Alex Gray's uh, Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. This was before
Wow.
I was ever a painter or anything, and I saw him and was too shy to say anything. I was just like, oh my God, that's him. This stuff is amazing. Like what? But it was
Yeah.
really inspiring, and I think when I started painting again, someone said, "Gosh, your art reminds me of Alex Gray and Amanda Sages. Like you should look her up." And I
Oh.
did. I found her on Facebook and found out she was teaching a workshop how to paint with light. And I realized that that was what I was missing. I was missing a light inside myself because I was in so much darkness. And I needed some support to work through that and to get it out in a different way.
Mm. Beautiful. Yeah, Amanda's so inspiring. I've taken workshops with Amanda. I've taken workshops with Autumn Sky also. They're both amazing teachers. I think Amanda especially has this gift of being able to foster people's creativity when they're at the beginning of their journey. She's really, really nurturing and encouraging for people that have never painted before and to make them really believe that they can do that. And that's just a real gift and talent that she has to be able to awaken that in people. And I admire that a lot.
Me
Something
too.
that came to mind when you were talking about finding the light within yourself is it's kind of like the way a projector works. Like if you have a projector and it's shining out onto a screen, that's kind of what painting is in a way. Like you're literally generating this light and shining it out onto a screen, like onto a canvas. And I think
Yeah.
so much it's the inverse of the way a lot of things operate in society, because I think that in society a lot of things are like the opposite, like shining the light onto you, not from you, but like onto you. And being a creative person, generating art or music or whatever it is, it kind of flips that around. So you're shining the light out instead.
Yeah, definitely. And people try and take that light, and that's why it's definitely important to keep harnessing it,
Mm-hmm.
using it for the right things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that visionary art, as dark as it can be, is also very positive and healing for everybody, the viewers and the creative. person. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that it's a process where the healing that the artist experiences in the process of making the work gets transmitted out into the person who views it. So if a person has an ecstatic experience while they're creating the work of art, if they're dissolving to love during the process of making it, which you see in Alex Gray's work, in my opinion, then the person looking at that, viewing it, can feel that transcendence that that person was experiencing at the time that they created it, like a psychic crystal. Like their consciousness, their state of consciousness gets permanently encapsulated within this work of art. And there's something really fascinating about looking at classical art for the same reason, because, you know, you can talk about history and say this happened and this happened, but when you look at a work of art, you're able to commune with somebody's spirit from hundreds of years ago. You're feeling their soul. That is, it's like a Horcrux from Harry Potter, you know, like a
Yeah.
little piece of their soul is stuck forever in that painting, and you're able to meet that, and there's a living presence within it, and you are encountering that artist who lived hundreds of years ago. And that is amazing. That is one of the most amazing parts about art and painting, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a piece of that person's soul is left forever.
Yeah.
That's some magic.
That's, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm curious about how ayahuasca has impacted your journey, because ayahuasca has impacted my journey a lot as well, and psychedelics in general. But yeah, I'm curious about, like, were you working with any plant medicines or psychedelics before your injury?
I wasn't. I was a completely different person. I wouldn't even have the same friends, everything, my taste in food, clothing, music,
Wow.
men, women, everything's changed. Like, um,
May I interrupt
yeah.
you for just a second? It's interesting because I think a lot of what we value or a lot of what we find attractive is kind of programmed culturally, or something that we've been, like, it's like a construct of our minds. And there's certain people that would argue, like you said, your taste in men has changed since your injury. A lot of people would argue that this stuff is like biologically hardwired, but you're kind of demonstrating that it's not, because biologically you're the same person, but it's
Mm-hmm.
your mental constructs that have shifted. So
Definitely.
I think that that kind of vouches for the credibility of the idea that a lot of that stuff, the things that we find valuable, um, our interests and inclinations are actually like mental programs.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely was deprogrammed to be allowed to reprogram myself how I
Absolutely.
saw fit. Um, which has been really cool and a journey, you know. I don't want the white picket fence. I don't want the, you know, that I realize that there's, I don't know, life is definitely what you make it, and you can be whoever you want to. You just have to go for that, you know? Like, who do you want to be? You want to be an
So
artist? Go study. You
yeah,
want to
was
be a
that,
lawyer? Do it.
yeah, absolutely. Was that a was that kind of like a dream of yours before your injury? Were you kind of chasing the American, the traditionally American idea of success in a
Um,
kind of,
I at first I was, because you know, I was a model and an actress, and I realized though that money didn't make me happy, fame didn't make me happy. I didn't want that. I wanted to be taken seriously. That, you know, I'm from a very small fishing village of 3,000 people that's only accessible by boat or plane, called Petersburg, and
wow.
so it's a different lifestyle up there. I'm happy with being in nature. I mushroom hunt here every other day and go in the woods. I really don't see many people at all. I'm kind of a little hermit, which is how I was raised. And I think that goes into my art too. Like, the I think I'm where I'm supposed to be. You know, whatever road I was on, the universe or God or spirit, she wanted me to go in this direction. You know,
Hmm.
I needed to do this work instead of being a fisherman, being an actress, because I was really wanting to get into art anyway. That was why I got on the boat, because I heard I could make a lot of money doing that to pay for art school. When usually I wouldn't prefer killing animals, you know, but I am a fisherwoman. I have Viking blood. I'm from a pirate family. It's kind of what we do. So I figured why not? And I'm glad I actually have a tuna job lined up for this fall, but I don't know that I'm going to do it because it's kind of full circle. But yeah, it's interesting the paths we take
Yeah.
and how things happen.
And how much of our lives is like how much of our life is defined by the experiences that happen to us rather than the experiences that we kind of consciously invoke or choose to happen. You know, I think a lot of the things that have really shaped me in my life and have defined my life's path, they weren't things that I consciously willed into existence, but more the synchronicities that the unexpected things that happened to me were often the most powerful, that led me down all kinds of rabbit holes that I never would have gone on if not for those experiences. Yeah, something I was kind of curious to talk to you about also is that, do you think that being a model was isolating for you in a way? Because like I've been close with a number of people who either have been or are professional models, and I find that because that occupation is put on a pedestal in our culture, it can often make these women like have these really high defenses that actually makes them like quite isolated and like they need to kind of be on guard. And yeah, I'm just kind of curious about how you feel that impacted you and your orientation towards life and things like that.
Well, the part of why I got out of like doing it professionally was because it is a very self-absorbed and at times unhealthy lifestyle, but you can make, a lot of money doing it, as well as make people feel good about themselves depending what type of model you are. For me, it was empowering as a woman coming from a man's state where it's one woman to 10 men. And I never, I was a tomboy growing up. I got in a lot of fights. I was kind of a bitch. I was a wrestler for 4 years. And so it was a complete change of something that I needed to find my feminine side, and got what I wanted out of it. And I've been, I still do some stuff here and there, but for me, it's empowering for my sacred power, my sacred self. It's not for other people. I don't like it's interesting how I view it now. I promote feminine and masculine empowerment. If you want to feel sexy in your own way, go for it.
Absolutely.
Everybody deserves that. We're all looking for our own way of loving ourselves. Who am I to say what's wrong? Or who is anybody to say what's wrong? We all have a different journey, even if it's walking around in your house with high heels on naked, like do what makes you happy.
That's what I do like every morning.
Right? I know, especially now.
Especially now.
We don't get to go out and wear them, so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was listening to this TED Talk yesterday, and it was this Cuban woman, and she was talking about seduction. And she was saying that in Cuba, children are so celebrated for their bodies. Like adults are like dancing, and kids are dancing. And when the kids are dancing and kind of like strutting their stuff, the parents give them so much praise and are just like, que linda, like tell them that they're beautiful. And so this creates a culture where everybody has this really deep acceptance of their body, like no matter what they look like. And they're like, I'm fabulous, I'm beautiful. And there's a lot of shame and a lot of weird trips around bodies and body types and like what we look like and what it means to be sexy within Western culture. And I think that like some of my favorite photographers and who work with models seem to kind of orient towards more like, I really like people who are more kind of unusual looking in a way, that have some like really unique, striking appearance rather than are kind of like, I guess, what mainstream people would deem to be beautiful. And I really think that there's something to being able to honor your uniqueness and just kind of own that and shine out the light that is just you for existing and being a human. And that modeling can be very empowering for that reason for people.
Yeah, like I love your photos, right? Tattoos, dark,
Thanks.
mysterious. I find stuff like that beautiful when we're all in search of ourselves, and like especially not really knowing how to work my body after the accident. It's been something that I'm definitely searching and experiencing again, and it's been fun, as well as really weird. And like what is expected of us in a human society as earthlings, where we're supposed to be a certain way. We're not supposed to always be sexy. We're supposed to not be sexual creatures. It's a curse and a sin. It's like there's so much other ways of viewing that, like honoring the body, honoring diversity and sexuality, and the beauty of people's uniqueness. I think
Right.
that's
And that's not a human thing. That's like a cultural thing. That's
yeah.
something that was like indoctrinated from, religious stuff and whatever. But that is not the way that all human people view sexuality. That's only, a small percentage of the world. And a lot of cultures throughout history have celebrated the human body and have celebrated our sexuality, which is way more healthy and way more natural, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
It's interesting though. You get to kind of like come back to Earth almost like an alien visiting it for the first time.
I feel like that. Yeah.
Which is so wild. I kind of like, I would be curious to have that experience for sure. Like, I don't know if I would necessarily choose to have it permanently, but if I could at least have that experience, like the temporary amnesia of ever having been a person and just to experience everything with, it's sort of like what the Buddhists call beginner mind, where everything is just a new experience.
So beautiful. I feel like I notice and feel so much more. I don't know. I'm trying to really put that into my art now. I'm working on a rune deck, which is going to be very powerful for me, and transformational because of the emotions that go behind each rune, and um, yeah, putting it into art. I
Hmm.
think. Oh.
So I had asked you before, and we kind of got on another tangent, but to bring it back, I'm curious about how ayahuasca has impacted your life and how it's impacted your creativity and what your experiences with ayahuasca have been like.
Mm. Well, she definitely showed me that I was here for a reason, that I was hit in the head to allow my brain to open up. She basically told me you were hit in the head so your brain could open up to accept the amount of knowledge that you're about to receive in your life. And she showed me and filled me with rainbows and light, and I was in a lot of pain and suffering because I had fibromyalgia, which I've cured through the shaman work and plant medicine and changing my diet and really being gentle with myself. So she showed me how to fix and sit with myself and be gentle on myself and forgive the things, because I was in grief. I was grieving for a life I lost that I didn't even really remembered without my Facebook and MySpace. And in order to accept my ego to die, I deleted all of my old photos and allowed a new birth to take place, which is why it's fun to kind of like dig through things and allow a new birth to take place and like reconnecting things. And now maybe I don't want to feel like that today, or maybe that picture I don't resonate with, so I'm just gonna put that over here, but I like this one. And I don't know, she just showed me to kind of create the life I wanted by art, just being gentle, going out and going on journeys. And With the money for my lawsuit, I spent it on going to festivals so I
Nice.
could make friends, and I found live painters. I think I saw you actually once,
Really?
and I said hello, and I saw Della, and
What festival is that?
oh gosh, I want to say like there had to have been one in California, or
Hmm.
maybe in Vision or
Yeah, it could have
something.
been a vision, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But they've really saved my life, getting to just be free and kind of like travel and get my independence back and feel liberated. And I found my tribe through that. And Aya has helped facilitate that connection for myself spiritually. Um, I paint a lot of snakes now because she's my spirit animal. I feel like I've shed so many skins to be and work through so much, because I'm really 11 years old. It's funny to say it that way, but because the accident happened 11 years ago. And every time I sit with Aya, I get the downloads of my whole life. So I'm reliving 34 years of my life within the last like 4 years of working with Aya, because I've done 8 ceremonies with her, and each time I get like a whole download of things I completely lost, and I get to figure out if I want to purge it or hold on to it. And
Wow.
it's fascinating to me how it works with brain injuries, or how she works with a brain injury, because it's different for everybody for depression and anxiety. And I'm really excited to do combo because I think that I'm ready
Have
for
you never
that.
done it before?
Not yet, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready. I'm feeling called.
Have you been seeing a lot of frogs lately?
Oh yeah. Yep,
Cool.
I painted a painting called Ancient Future. It's not here, but I got to show it to Mike Tyson in LA because he has a
Really?
similar story. Yeah, it was weird. He's such a
He
stoner.
seems interesting, like cool.
Yeah, I was really nervous. I basically just got to we got to share stories, and I had the original there because I had that painting in the Hive Gallery. So it was there. Just happened to go and meet Mike because I have mutual friends with him. And excuse me. And that was interesting because I didn't really realize how many people are doing toad medicine, and ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Like it's really becoming a thing, and I think that's really transformative for our culture. I think it can really help, especially after all of this.
Yeah, from what I've heard, he had a profound transformation through plant medicines also. And I mean,
Mhm.
wow, his story, I guess like there's a lot of, it's kind of like an archetypal story for people to come out of that level of, I guess you could call it darkness and into light. It's sort of like Milarepa, you know the story of Milarepa?
I know the
The
name.
So Milarepa was like an enlightened being from Tibet, but he was like a warrior, I think. He was like a killer who like was really vengeful and like killed a lot of people. And then his story is like almost like Anakin or something from Star Wars. Like I think his mother got killed or something, and by some kind of neighboring warring tribe, and then he went on a rampage and like killed a bunch of innocent people, sort of like Anakin did, right? And then he became very distraught about what he had done. Like he had like a moral awakening and realized that he had done something that was unforgivable. And so he started seeking out spiritual healing and found a guru, and then started working with the most austere practices, just burning off karma. I think it was Marpa that was his guru, but Marpa would have him build these buildings like out of stone, and then Marpa would like freak out and be like, "You idiot! I never told you to build this here. Like you need to build it over there," and would make him completely tear it down. And he did this like 150 times, and would like throw him off cliffs and have every bone in his body broken, and like just all this crazy stuff to burn off this karma. But he became a fully enlightened, realized being that was one of the most compassionate and healing people to ever walk on the planet, like a complete full-fledged avatar. And so he really represents, I think, mythologically the story of transformation, that no matter who you've been, even if you're Mike Tyson and you're like one of the fiercest fighters and most violent people on the planet, you can actually transform and become a being of great compassion and great gentleness and great peace.
Yep. There's hope.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It was really cool to hear his story and feel his vibe about it. Like, very inspirational. I think that it's good to talk about too and share with
I ran into Russell Simmons yesterday, and he has a similar kind of story. He was the founder of Def Jam Records, and like Beastie Boys and all these major hip hop artists. He created that, like 50 Cent, whatever. And so he like comes from that real like gangster background. He basically invented hip hop, and like all the trappings of everything hip hop represents, like that was him. But now he lives in Bali and just does like yoga and like meditates and eats vegan food. And he's like super chill, just like wears these like mala beads around his neck and is just like real friendly and peaceful. It's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, he is super cool. He's like super open and easy to talk to. But yeah, it's kind of funny, these people that are famous for certain things which are kind of considered cool in a cultural sense, but yet have like a lot of moral complications to them, that have these awakenings. Because like, I mean, somebody like him, he's gone through having all the power and all the money and the ability to do whatever he wants, and realizing that that really doesn't create any kind of lasting satisfaction or happiness, and then choosing these paths of altruism and trying to focus on spiritual development and stuff like that. I kind of see those people who have those larger platforms as being really the people that are going to move things in a more positive direction culturally. Because if somebody like Mike Tyson or Russell Simmons starts talking about their spiritual awakening and how they've internally transformed and embodying that and showing that through action, because they're famous and because they have a large platform, those are the people that are really going to start to make a shift on the planet. Just because like people idolize them and what's the word, like imitate them a lot,
Yeah, they look up to them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's also our role as artists, I think, to help transmit our experiences and stories out into the world, and also talk about our transformations, because it's not like there's no real difference between people. All people are the same, and the kinds of experiences that we've shared are universal experiences, and we're all in the same place. Like we're all kind of refugees from this culture that abandoned us spiritually and didn't give us the nourishment that our soul craves. And I think that the visionary art community, the festival community, it's kind of like a what's the word, like a safe haven for people that are searching for that. And it gives people an outlet to find that and to find that connection. And it's really healing, and it's really powerful.
I miss those connections. That's why I love live painting. It's like it allows us to meet so many beautiful people, and we're all searching on a journey, Definitely really look forward to everything, or just to the music festivals. There's something magical about them.
Yeah, I miss it too. I almost went to Envision this year. I didn't know it was going to be the last festival ever. I probably would have went.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there'll be a million other festivals. I don't need to go to that.
Right, I know. I painted live at Gem and Jam, and I'm so glad I got to do that, because it was a good one. I've never gotten to do it, and there were crystals everywhere. So I was just very bummed I was broke, because I wanted everything. But
Gem Jam is fun. I remember I went there, I don't know, years ago. Me and my ex-girlfriend went, and like we made some money at the festival, and then we decided to take mushrooms and go to the Gem fair, and maybe that wasn't the best idea because we were just surrounded. I had this like pocket full of cash after the festival, just surrounded by shiny things while I'm on mushrooms. I spent so much money on crystals. I got like
Yeah.
2 giant boxes of crystals, but
Damn.
it's amazing though. Like it's
That's the place
so
to do
cool.
it.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you feel the connection, you see the connection, especially on mushrooms.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like what your affirmation or what your aspirations are for the future. Where do you want to take your work, and how do you see your path unfolding from this point, especially with what's going on right now with this whole situation that might or might not be permanent. It's really hard to say how things are going to go in the future. Just curious where your vision is around that.
Yeah, I guess my vision is I'm trying to get into teaching, and then I'm about to graduate from small business school and then get back into taking some healing classes so that I can facilitate a spiritual experience painting. Just a sacred space, like a lot of opening circles are held for, and teaching, finishing my book, trying to help people and awaken people with ayahuasca and the healing power of the brain and plant medicine. I think that's something that I'm no professional, but it's good to talk about and share, you know.
Mm.
I have no
Well,
idea, really.
great.
Gonna keep trying it.
You're not a professional in so much as you're a scientist, but you have more experience than any scientist would because you've lived it, you know? So I think that your contribution is perhaps more valuable than somebody that's just looking at, clinical research and data or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, got to continue the work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have about maybe 5-10 minutes left. I'm curious if anybody that's listening has any questions you want to ask either of us before we sign off. You can write those in the comments and we'll answer them. But yeah, I'm really excited to read your book when it's finished.
Yeah, it's coming along. It's definitely been a roller coaster experience because it's bringing back memories that I've forgotten, and I'm doing research and calling people, and so it's healing. It's very cathartic.
It's
And
amazing that you healed fibromyalgia through working with shamanic techniques and plant medicines and things like that. My sister has a chronic pain disorder that's similar to fibromyalgia, but she's completely indoctrinated within the kind of Western model of healing and on all kinds of like terrible pharmaceuticals. And it hasn't helped her at all. It's like made it only way worse. But I think that people who have actually healed from these conditions that are really, really difficult to treat through Western science and medicine, and being outspoken about them and showing how you can heal them through these techniques is really, really important.
yeah,
I'd love for her to, meet somebody like you to be able to talk about your experiences.
I think eating an anti-inflammatory diet really has helped me the most. No nightshades, which
Oh, yeah.
is no potato, no tomato, no eggplant, and no peppers. And that has really, really helped me a lot. It's been something that I see a drastic change in not just my energy levels, but the flare-ups, and then sleep, because they had me on 500 milligrams of Lyrica twice a day for 8 years, and it was definitely not just blocking my neuroreceptors that needed to reconnect, but it was also making me very numb to stuff that I needed to feel. And once I got off of that shit, my fucking art changed. Like,
Oh, I bet.
definitely did some different things. And I think that, yes, there are some benefits behind some medications, but it's also good to find, just try different stuff. Like, don't just listen to doctors. Not every doctor is correct. Not every doctor knows what they're talking about. They don't honestly want to see you get better sometimes. And yes, some do. but I know that after a while, taking a lot of stuff can be definitely hard to get off of, and yeah, I wish everybody healing.
Mm.
Maybe they can sit and experience the ceremony or something.
Mm-hmm. So Salma Jane says, has Aya shared anything good, taught you anything that would be useful to share with the public or our community?
Yes, actually. I like that she always reminds me to continue the work, that the work is never done, and to allow ourselves to grow, and that as hard as it is to sit with things that we need to heal from, it is important to honor ourselves and allow it through the purge, or just just even just yeah, just sitting and with our darkness helps us find the light, is what she taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not finished. I feel like we're all, every year we accumulate dark stuff, and it's good to get out. And yeah, I think can teach us all a lot. It's really what we're ready to see, what we ask for.
Mm. Yeah, I think for me, a lot of the lessons that I've gotten through ayahuasca is like seeing that we live in a dream world that's very malleable, that operates on a symbol system. And if you understand the mythology and the symbols, then that gives you a much kind of like deeper insight into the way the matrix operates. And that as a creator, if you realize that, then you can kind of lucid dream your way through reality and make it whatever you want it to be. And then also, I think a really something that I feel like I've gotten a lot is just we tend to look at the world through a kind of self-centered lens, and it's really not only seeing our place within our community and all of humanity as being interconnected and equal, but really recognizing our place as a human species in the web of life and with the rest of the world. And we're, as a whole, really out of touch with that. Like we've been operating like we're on top of the mountain, but we're not at all. We're way lower down the totem pole than people like to believe, and that's creating so much havoc and disharmony within the world. And if we really can recognize our place as being lowered, on the totem pole, then we can start to operate in greater harmony with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think Aya definitely taught me that it's not about me. It's about all of it. And there's a lot.
Yeah. So we got like 2 minutes left before this live ends, because it caps out at an hour. But thank you so much. It's such a fun chat.
I love you. It's so good to see your face.
Love you too. So nice to finally chat with you. I think we've really only communicated through like text conversations.
I know. I keep wanting to get a tattoo from you.
I can't wait to start your bodysuit.
Yes, I can't wait. It's happening in the future.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yay.
Awesome, Wrenna.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for everybody for watching, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And
thanks, everyone.
Be well, everybody. Much love.
The Quarantine Sessions podcast with J. Cole.